Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jules from I Like Me. This YouTube channel is dedicated to exploring and discussing very many different healing modalities that can be incredibly useful for transformative change, both within the mind and within the body. And today I have with me Reiki Roy, which is a beautiful name. I just love that. um, who his website is actually called The Wandering Masseur. Now, before I go into that and a little bit about what you offer and the things that you're involved in, I really felt to just ask your thoughts on the mind-body connection, because I know in my line of work as a hypnotherapist that
Mm,
often symptoms come to the surface for people to really experience. And often when we go into subconscious mind, it's about finding what it is that's causing the issues around those symptoms that do come to the surface in the physical. So it tends to be something emotional from a stored experience that manifests itself as a physical representation of pain or something that just needs resolving. So the mind body connection fascinates me, and I am really, as a wandering masseur, I'm really keen to explore what that mind body connection means to you. If
yeah,
you wouldn't mind, yeah, explaining a bit about that, your perception on that.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for having me on this channel. Um, yeah, for me, there's two universes that are constantly in motion, and it all derives from our micro universe, what's going on the inside, our emotional base, our mental base. And through that lens, that's just how we begin to receive or perceive the world around us. We can walk down this same street, for example. I'm looking for clothes and you're really hungry. You're going to notice all the food shops. I'm going to notice all the clothes shop, but we walk down this same street. So it really creates our reality around us. And like you said, it can go so deep all the way back from in the womb and further behind that, of how many things that we can hold in our inner world and what or how we begin to see the world through that lens, whatever that may be. And it's so subjective to each person. Um, so I feel like there's so many modalities, like you said, just to kind of get into that. Well, seeing what works for you, one, because it's different strokes for different folks, right? It's not one modality is the absolute thing to help. So finding what works for you and then just exploring deeper and deeper what it is or using that as a tool to explore deeper inside yourself and saying, yeah, this thing keeps coming up in my life. Like, what is that about? Like, and just getting, yeah, it gets juicy after that.
Yeah, it does. It does indeed. Thank you for explaining. Because for massages and things like that, I know in sports therapy and sort of many, I know there's loads of different massages, and I know that often people will wait for something to appear before they think, oh, my shoulder's a bit out, or I need to do this, or whatever. Um, so, do you have any tips on how people can create awareness around themselves before getting to that point where, you know, the symptoms really loud?
Yeah. Um, it's similar to turning off your television. Turn everything else off. Like really just sit still for a minute. Feel the body. What's going on? How does my shoulder feel when I rotate it a little bit? Like, oh, you know what? It is kind of tight. Maybe I should go easy on the climbing today. Or it's just bringing it back to us, bringing it back to ourselves and feeling and responding to what the body's telling us. Like it knows what it needs. It knows what it wants. But until you begin to actually like listen to its desires, its needs, at some point it's going to let you know one way or another. And unfortunately, like you said, it gets to the point where you can't actually move your leg or you
Mm.
can't do a particular movement because your body's trying to say, slow down, like just stop for a second. All right. I need to sit down. I need a breather. Especially this day and age, it's a massive rat race. It's very easy to forget. and not tap into ourselves and see what's going on physically, but also, yes, emotionally and intelligently. And yeah, I think just taking the time out for ourselves and finding ways that regulate our nervous system, especially whether that's just simply walking barefoot on some earth. And that allows you to step back into your body again and really feel like, yeah, I've got an ache here. Never noticed that before. Maybe I was just too busy writing emails all day long, but it's present now and I can respond to that and I can feel that. I can really, yeah, begin to move and shift that energy around the body in whatever modality comes your way.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, exactly. That's some really good pointers there, just to stop for a moment and check in. It might not even be a case of just asking what's going on, but just feeling where we're at in the
Yeah.
body. I notice sometimes, after a busy day, sometimes I can, just be doing the washing up or something. And that just gives me a chance to go, oh, you know what? I've been tense all day for no reason.
Mm,
Oh, I don't need to do that. Just breathe.
mm,
Like, just because we've been in this mindset of doing, not stopping for whatever reason. It can
yeah.
create tension in the body, can't it? Which can also create other things. I mean, you
Mm,
touched briefly on the central nervous system, and with your line of work, obviously, you would have trained in understanding more in depth than I am about that. So I'm just curious as to why it's so important to pay attention and calm that central nervous system. What are the benefits
mm.
of that?
Yeah. So we go, well, once we're triggered in some way, we instantaneously just go into a flight or fight mode. And this is very tense. This is tense up shoulders, boxing gloves up, or simply fleeing from the scene in whichever way the body feels is necessary to do so, just to protect itself. But when we bring, I guess, like the essence of yoga, bringing that stillness back into the body again, like the essence of yoga whilst doing the dishes, for example, great. Um, yeah, it's given us ourselves that space to oh, there's nothing to worry about. Okay, this is really nice. And this is something I learned a lot with doing ice baths quite regularly. Like it's even though your body's going through so much shock, and of course it feels like danger, it's such a mind game to really be like, you know what? It's just cold. It's just a bit of ice. It's fine. I'm not in danger. I'm all right.
Mm, mm,
And
mm,
it's the same thing with stress as well. We can simply go to it. Okay, that's a thing that exists that's triggering me in these parts of my body, in my heart, in my mind, in these ways. It's triggering these memories. Okay, I don't need to project those feelings outwardly and exacerbate the scene in any way. And I don't even need to run away from it. I can just watch it as it is and accept it for what it is. And through that, we can really cultivate this inner stillness through the chaos that we go through in everyday life. And I feel that's like I think that that's at least my goal is to bring that inner stillness, that essence of yoga into everyday life. Even if you're a sales rep in a food packaging company, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Because our attention is pulled in so many different directions,
Yeah.
throughout the course of the day. It's unquantifiable, actually, where our attention goes throughout the day and all the lifestyles that we lead and the things that we're involved in. And yeah, I feel it's the coming to that sense of stillness. So brilliant, lovely tips there. You mentioned ice baths. Now, how did you get into those? What was it about? What is the benefits of ice baths and cold
So
water
this
therapy?
is a really interesting question. Wow, this goes very, very far back. I had a history of substance abuse, and it was during my later teens and early 20s where my heart was still kind of adapting, it was still growing. And through that, I damaged it quite a bit. And it came to a point of like maybe 4 years ago where I just collapsed. I had no idea why. I just collapsed on the train. Couldn't explain it. And then went to hospital, done all the scans, like, yep, you're all fine, no bleeding, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, but your heart's really weird. I don't know what's wrong with it. So that's not comforting coming from a doctor. What's
Mm.
wrong with it? And it's just like really odd beats. And they thought, okay, so we'll do some operations, do some tests, loads and loads of tests. And then I took it the same approach as I did with my recovery. It's like, I don't really want to go down the pharmaceutical route. I want to do this for myself. I want to do what I know has worked for other people and just hit it like directly. And this is around the time where back then I was obsessed with Russell Brand and he was obsessed with Wim Hof. I was like, okay, Wim Hof knows a thing or two about ice. And I read his story and I was like, wow, that's really, really, really moving. And he kept explaining like it's just amazing for your heart, for your cardiology, your cardiac system. It really brings the mind into stillness. It really brings the entire body, nervous system into this. It's all I forgot the way a friend of mine described it. It's like all the benefits of coffee without the jitters, you know? And I think that's like it perfectly describes ice baths to me. Like it just gives you energy throughout the entire day.
Mm.
Um, it's such a clean high and it's just phenomenal for the cardiovascular system. So that's where it all roots from, really. I went through to the point where I was ignoring my body for so long. And like you said, with a massage of like, ow, there's a pain in my body. Let's go see a massage therapist. No, my body's like, okay, I'm going to break down. So you're going to have to check it out.
Mm.
And it allowed me to face the reality like, oh, okay, I really damaged myself. I need to look after this now. And this is my responsibility.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, really, it was a lot easier when I was in Thailand. So the exotic hot sun of 30 to 40 degrees centigrade with an ice bath, it's a lot easier than England. I'll give you that.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I'm looking outside thinking, I'm not sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but
Yep.
it is a great thing, people do cold water swim and I fully hear you, a lot of the people that I speak to that are in the healing realm now have been on some sort of journey with their own physical, emotional, mental bodies, Um, for myself, I got to the point where I was got to about 25 and everything just shut down mentally. Like I couldn't function. And it got to the point, and I remember sitting in the reception of the company that I used to work at. It was some sort of internet design company. My cousin had said to me like 2, 3, 4 years previous, I think you might need to go to therapy. I was like, I'll be all right, just keep drinking and whatever. And it got to that point where I just hit something that was seemingly just stopped me. And I just thought, I can't actually function. There's so much emotion coming, I can't function. And I called her and I said, I think it's time. She was like,
Yeah.
right, get it sorted. And everyone I sort of speak to in this space has had some journey of recovery from the destruction that they've done to themselves, for want of a better word, to suppress, to numb, to avoid, because perhaps didn't know another way. And the doctors will kind of say to you, right, you need, this and this and this. And I was like, in my head, I was like, there's no chance I'm taking any of that stuff. There has to be another way, and
Yeah.
discovered meditation and yoga and I'm still here. So it's,
Doing
you know,
something right.
yeah, exactly. So, and I knew I wasn't going to take anything. So I think, sometimes something within you just is calling, isn't it? That says, you've got this, and
It's
actually,
time.
it's
Yeah.
time.
Mm,
Yeah, it's time.
mm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So it was time for you to train as a masseur. And how did that come about? And what was it that pulled you
Mm.
to working with the body in that way?
Yeah. So yeah, I love that question. So I down the dumps, really dark time. Looked at my friend who's on his recovery, doing the 12-step program and sharing circles and all this, getting really hippified, using crystals and Reiki. I'm like, what is this? What is this thing? Like, I don't get it. But then I got to the point where it's like, you know what? I'd rather try it out than take this pharmaceutical route of, like you say, you need this or this time and this one 3 times a day and yada yada. It's like, I might as
And
well give
this
it a
for the
try.
and this for the side effects. It's like, no,
Yeah,
thank
yeah. It's like
you.
this doesn't really make sense. I don't really vibe with this, man. I'm not liking this. So yeah, and he performed Reiki on me first, and I all started with Reiki first. All started holistic therapy first. And as I began really venturing through timeline therapies, working a lot with like techniques of like Dr. Joe Dispenza and Eckhart Tolle and Ramdas and Muji and Osho and da 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 da. Like the list goes on and on. I was in a really good state inside, but then I kept looking at my body and thought, you're still kind of anorexic though, aren't you? You're still not doing great. You look good, you're glowing, but you're not really there physically. So with this whole heart problem that I had, any cardio was just off the record for me, unfortunately, because it would just be too much work for it. And so they said, you need short bursts of exercises. I thought, okay. And I looked at my fears. I believe in facing your fears, just jumping into the abyss and just see what happens. Because 9 times out of 10, it's all mostly up here that you're afraid, and the reality isn't anywhere near as scary. So I realized I was really scared of heights, really scared of heights. I'll be on a step ladder and my knees will be shaking. And so I decided let's climb. Let's do some climbing. Let's do some bouldering. Let's do some indoor climbing, outdoor climbing. A few years of that, and I realized the importance of, yeah, it feels good to move the body. Got into ecstatic dances and contact improvs and all these sort of more like, yeah, physical movement type meditations. And that's when I got really fascinated with the body itself. Um, and kind of unusual approach because my sister's also like a medical doctor, and then I'm the hippie also studying the body, but for different reasons, you know. So it's kind of interesting with that sort of dynamic. But yeah, it's just pure fascination through my own growth, my own exploration of the physical body. I realized, damn, cool. There's how many cross sections of muscles in this one area? Like, how is that possible? How does that even work? Um, and yeah, I always had a natural knack rather with touch, especially with Reiki, becoming like going through that intuitive approach of conscious touch, and then through that, just really pinpointing, oh yeah, I feel there's just an ache right there. And then it will just be a knot, like straight, like, okay, cool. So let's
Mm.
send that place some love, and let's also on the physical side, let's just massage it and whatever. Um, and so many times, yeah, people would say like, you should become a massage therapist. Like, I think you're really good. And just like everything else in our lives, I ignored it. I put it on the back. I didn't really think about it. And then it got to the point where the message couldn't have been more clear, for the things I had to do. Um, quit my job, moved back to my parents. I broke up with my girlfriend at the time. I started living for me. I was jobless for over a year, just really exploring what it is that I really desired. What is it that I really want to cultivate? And one of them was bodywork. Um, and providing that safe space, especially as a man, providing that safe space for other men, yes, for women, yes, like absolutely. I just want to create a safe space for everyone, 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 everyone.
Mm.
Um, and it again, as I got more grounded within myself, I began to cultivate that sense of safety, that sense of I've got you. It's okay. It's all right. You want to cry? Let's cry together. Well, we want to dance. Let's go dance together. Like we're gonna hold hands. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna be sad. Like let's just be human together and just be as authentic as we can with everyone. Um, so yeah, I mean that's my little share at least.
Ah. What a journey. What a journey. And I
Yeah.
think it's so beautiful that you took that time out and made, so what you were saying about the fears in the mind, it's so true. I was having a conversation with my son about this morning, my youngest son, and he wanted to try some of the gymnastics equipment that my daughter was practicing on. And I said to him, why don't you go and speak to the lady? I'm sure she'll let you have a little go. And he was like, really not wanting to go there. And I just said to him, Jay, what's the worst that can happen? She'll say no, you know? So he kind of eked his way out. Next thing I know, he's on all of the equipment. And I just said to him, I said, your mind is going to try and stop you from doing the things that you want to do. You know, it's going to
Mm,
create these limitations and these stories. I said, it's not always good to believe what it says. You know, it's not always
mm.
good to believe what the mind says, because yes, it's a useful tool for survival, and cognitive thinking, but you know, it sometimes can be a bit limiting. So I think it's beautiful that you took that approach to just explore that within yourself, you know, starting by fear of heights, because that's quite a big one, to be fair. That is quite a big
Terrified.
one. Taking knees up a step ladder is a big one.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So, you know, it's good. And we have to be, I feel, you know, courageous to just keep stepping in the directions that we are either, you know, our souls guiding us, or our hearts guiding us, or our joys guiding us to, because that's where I feel we find passion, fulfillment, contentment, purpose, you
Oh
know, the
yeah.
things that light us up. I've got goosebumps now just saying it, because that's the things that light us up really are where we're going to find the moments in our life that we go, look back and go, I did that, you
Yeah.
know, I did that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And going back to what I said before, like that's going to be different for everyone, right?
Mm,
Like something that you find beauty in is going to be totally different to the next person. But I think it's
mm,
really important to really register what it is that you find that essence of beauty in and just go for it.
mm,
Explore it so deeply because there's a reason why that resonates with you. There's a reason why that's calling out to you, especially in that moment in your life.
mm, mm.
Um, I mean, I'm sure at one point, hard to look back now, but I'm sure at one point I was really nervous about touching other people and a bit, it's a bit weird. I don't want to be touched. Like, now I'm just like, I'm putting people in all sorts of weird and wonderful positions and doing spinal twists for them and just helping them like really get in contact and get in touch with their body and just talking them through it all. And it's oh God, it's so rewarding. So, so rewarding.
Mm, I
Yeah.
bet. I bet. So spinal twist, I mean, something in me was like, oh yeah, I could do some of that. Like, so typically, what kind of massage do you offer? Do you have the
Yeah.
whole spectrum of treatments that you offer? Like, what is it that you offer, basically? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so primarily it is Thai massage. So I love Thai massage is absolutely just the fine tuning of just everything in one. Like it's got the holistic side of touch, like with like Reiki does, which is why I also do, because it works with like the meridian lines or what they call the Sen lines, Sen. Um, works exactly the same way, just a different word. So activating these send lines, these acupressure points, as well as acknowledging every single joint, muscle, tendon throughout the whole body, including every single part of the spine. What's quite different with Thai massage is that it even guides you to do organ massages, which in Western massage is like, no, 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 don't touch the soft tissue at all. Like, just don't go there. Thai massage, when I was getting taught, like, yeah, really, really get in there. Really, really like try and fill their intestines like all the way through. It's like, oh, weird. But again, like you can really, when I was receiving a lot of Thai massages, like it was, you can really feel it, like just how regulating it's like
Mm,
putting in that fresh blood into those areas of the body, which you might not necessarily think about, until you get one of these amazing experiences. So there is Thai massage, sports massage, which includes like relaxing massages as well as deep tissue work, um, and just everything in between that comes in there, like recovering from sports injuries. And yeah, that's essentially it.
mm,
As well as Reiki, performing distance Reiki as well as in person, going again, mixing in timeline therapies and inner child work with that. And it's just another tool to add to any sort of guided meditations, which I'm able to kind of conjure like within that moment,
mm,
quite intuitively and allow that. It's almost like translating or being the communicator between one realm to another. And I'm beginning to see that I'm one of those speakers. I'm able to translate those things into and produce it into the physical realm, so people are actually able to understand it on a level where you don't need to know long words, like everyone can understand it because it's so innate within us. So this is like loads of modalities.
And this
Plenty of
is it, and that's
modalities.
what I was kind of saying to you before, just very briefly, that some of these healing modalities are a bridge between our inner and outer worlds, which I feel are fundamentally hugely connected anyway. And you touched on that in the beginning. You said about your outer reality and the difference in experience of that, from subjective person to subjective person. But also what I find is that sometimes when someone's beginning their healing journey or starting to look at other ways of changing their life, or other ways, or they're just needing to reach out, a lot of the people in this work are bridging that transition from an old life that perhaps has gotten them so far, but perhaps needs to be tweaked or changed, or the healing needs to happen, or life needs to just be altered in some way to be able to create and experience something that's more authentic with who they are probably at that time. So it's very, very important, the work that we do. I feel there's a lot of people in this world, and there's a lot of experiences that cause a lot of issues, and to be able to support somebody within their journey is like you said earlier, it's incredibly rewarding, isn't it? Incredibly rewarding. So you explained a little bit about the Thai massage and the sports massage, and also you sort of thrown in the Reiki element, but you mentioned guided meditations. Now, some people I feel, say they can't meditate, I can't sit here and just out or whatever it is. And I know from my own experience that was definitely me. I'd just get incredibly frustrated after 10 seconds, because it'd just be like, my mind wants to, I've got things to do. I haven't really got time to sit here, So top tips for supporting the transference into that space. Have you any?
Yeah, there's one that really pops into my mind all the time, and I think it's very much a thing looking out my window in England, is that every thought that comes into your space of awareness is just a cloud, just a passing cloud. Some of them are very grey and thick, some are very light and fluffy, some of them stay for days, or maybe the entirety of winter. But at some point they move on. They come and they go, and the cloud doesn't define the day. The cloud doesn't define the atmosphere. It's just a part of it. And the same with the mind. You are the sky. Allow those clouds to come. It's okay. It doesn't define you. It's not the absolute truth of who you are. No, you're this ever expanding sky. Recognize that, acknowledge it, really feel that, and then just allow those clouds to come. Allow them to go, just as they come as well. That's always been a really true sort of it's truthness to me, at least. How about yourself?
Yeah, to quieten the mind. So I learned a technique that really helped transport myself into this space of stillness quite quickly. I'm happy to share it now because it will be useful for people who are perhaps new to meditation. So just find sitting in a comfortable space. You don't necessarily have to sit cross-legged, but definitely upright, because sitting upright has the ability, lying down or whatever has the ability to make us drop off, and then the mind, I feel, is kind of like distracting you from meditating. But I sometimes sit and just pay attention to 3 things that I can hear without labeling them. So it could be a train in the distance, and without sort of allowing my mind to go, oh, there's a train, or, oh, I can hear birdsong. Just the recognition of the sound itself, the sound. And then after that, 3 things I can feel. Now that could be an emotion that arises. That could be, I can feel my jumper on my shoulders. I can feel the cushion beneath my chair, on my chair. I can feel the hair on my face, anything. Again, not labeling, just bringing your awareness to those 3 things.
Mm.
And then 3 things you can see. Now, when your eyes are closed, people often say, what are you talking about? Your eyes are closed, you can't see anything. It's like, well, just give it some time and actually you'll become aware of the subtleties of the vision within the eyes being closed. Just give it some time.
Mm.
So from the 3 things, I then do the 2 things. 2 things I can hear, 2 things I can feel, 2 things I can see. And then after that, one thing, hear, feel, see, whichever order comes. And that for me is a brilliant transition into stillness, because it's given the mind something to focus on, because our mind
Mm.
loves to focus on stuff, and feel like it's doing something. And it just gives that transition into, right, after those one things are done, just sit. And then the main thing in my own practice is to catch the stories. You know, the thoughts come, they go, they arise, they fall, feelings appear, disappear, and to remain with that sense of who is watching that happen.
Yeah.
What is watching that happen? Because there is a space beyond this activity that encompasses it all. It holds it all within that space. And I know that you know what I'm talking about when you've listened to Moody and whatnot, right? And Eckhart Tolle. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Yeah,
also,
there was
you
no,
know,
go ahead. Sorry, yeah.
sorry, the
No, yeah,
attention,
go, please.
the attention, we're used to listening to the mind. We're used to attending to it. We're used to reacting to it. We're used to allowing it to dictate our behaviors. We're used to that. It's a habitual. What happens if we just watch it like a cinema screen in front of us? What happens if we just watch it? And what happens if we catch a story and just go, no, I'm not doing that right now. I'm going to just
Mm.
sit. No, I'm not going to pay attention to that now. This is where I am. I found if I've gotten frustrated with that, like, and get annoyed, then it creates more tension within the mind. So it's just lovingly saying, I'm not dealing with that right now. I'm listening. I'm focusing on my breathing. I'm feeling my diaphragm rise and fall. I'm paying attention to the nostrils, you know, that sort of thing. So that's my own experience anyway.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it really reminds me of a little quote of the the mind is a wonderful worker, but a terrible master. So, like you said, you kind of got to give it kind of tasks. Like, let's focus on that. Let's like bring our awareness into the belly moving up and down. Let's bring our awareness to the what can I hear? What can I see behind the closed eyes? And just giving it tasks. It loves to do things, but
Mm.
when it's just kind of there twiddling its thumbs, like it's gonna just create things that are just totally up here and not really happening, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Frustration comes up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No,
yeah,
I
yeah.
know it's a beautiful thing to find that space, and you know, I hope that many people do, because it just gives you space between, yeah, your reactions and your behaviors and the thinking that can keep us bound sometimes. So,
Mm.
well, Roy, it's been an absolute delight to spend some time with you, and I will make sure that your website, the Wandering Masseur link, is in the description when the um, video is published, so that if people feel that Thai massage with a bit of Reiki Roy and sports massage, or whatever it is, or if they just resonate with what you said today, you know, they can reach out and get in touch and see where that goes. You never know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. What a wonderful experience. What a wonderful chat. And I'm sure there's going to be many more conversations of this sort of level with you. And I look forward to every moment.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.